But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there have been people within the Israeli government who are trying to like actually shift us away from that policy because they want to continue the military campaign.
Welcome to the channel, guys. So I brought this interview for you today of JD Vance and Joe Rogan, specifically talking about Israel's influence. And for months, I've been hearing how Israel is controlling everything in the war in Iran. And so let's hear what they have to say, and then I'll make some comments at the end. The video is about 9 minutes long, but it's well worth watching. I'd appreciate if you like, share, and subscribe. It's a huge boost to the channel, and it's greatly appreciated. All right, let's listen.
Bullshit out there when what I'm actually trying to do is accomplish what the President of the United States told me to accomplish, which is a settlement of this that accomplishes our objectives. Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. We have the free flow of oil and gas. And like, I should be clear, you know, I don't actually mind. I don't mind that the, you know, let's say certain elements of the Israeli government want to criticize the deal or have disagreements about the deal. I don't even mind an effort to try to influence, you know, foreign governments try to influence the United States all the time. You know, Israel does it, other countries do it. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. What bothers me is actually when Americans allow, meaning American leadership, allows that influence to affect their judgment and to affect what they are advocating for. That's what really bothers me.
Let me pause it for 1 second and just say something on what Vance just said. He's saying the war was absolutely necessary because Iran can't be allowed to have a nuke. I agree wholeheartedly with that assessment. They've got 60% enriched to 80% enriched uranium. It only takes 3 to 5% enriched to run civilian power. So we see what direction this is going, and they would definitely use it if they got it. All right, let's continue.
People are always going to try to influence the United States of America, whether they're allies of ours or whether they're enemies of ours. But again, when I open up the pages of Time magazine and I see that there's a literal foreign influence campaign being funded to tank the very deal that I was pursuing, and oh, by the way, many of the people who were receiving that money were actually attacking me in completely dishonest ways, you know, my response to that is, well, go to hell. I'm going to do what I have to do for the American people. I represent Americans first, and that's the way that I've tried to do this job. And you know, Joe, the crazy thing is, I'm like, people don't realize this. I'm actually in this, you know, there's this massive pro-Israel, anti-Israel debate in the United States of America. I'm like the reasonable moderate. And I think that's what so many people don't realize is, you know, I've been accused of being an anti-Semite. I've been accused
for what reason?
Quite literally for, I've been accused of trying to, I guess some people say that I've insulted the Jewish religion, which is insane. Like I have a ton of respect for the Jewish religion.
But
I mean, if you talk about,
what specifically did you say?
I don't know. I've never heard a good, compelling argument for why I'm an anti-Semite, even though I've been accused of being an anti-Semite by many people. But what I say to these guys is, look at public opinion, look at the way young Republicans versus Republicans over the age of 65 approach this issue. Like right now, Israel is losing the public opinion battle in the United States of America. It is a simple and obvious fact. Donald Trump has said that publicly. It's a simple and obvious fact.
Why do you think that is?
Well, let me finish this point.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my attitude towards this is Israel is an ally. Like France or like the United Kingdom, we're going to have disagreements with them. We're going to have agreements with them. There are areas where we're going to have similar interests and areas where our interests are going to diverge. So my approach to this is to say, you know what, when we're partnered, great, let's work together. And we're not, let's just be honest about it. And for that, people attack me for being an anti-Semite or anti-Israel. and they don't see the writing on the wall that I'm actually just the guy advocating for a normal relationship with a normal country that's based around shared interest as opposed to based around, something else. So why is Israel losing? Why is Israel losing American public opinion?
Well, the narrative is that Israel has a very disproportionate effect on American politics.
Yeah, I see that. I see that narrative. I mean, I actually think that they look. Do they try to influence American politics? Yes, but like I said earlier, a lot of other countries do. I think
to the extent that Israel does,
I think some are better at it than others. I think the Israelis are definitely more effective at it than most, but I wouldn't say that they're the only effective country by any means that tries to influence American politics. I just think you have to be self-aware about it. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's a country of 9 million people. We have 330 million people. And so, of course, they're going to try to persuade Americans. They're going to try to move Americans in one direction or another. I think that's just the nature of the beast.
But it's more than that. The concern is that they're spying on American politicians, that there's concerns about funding, there's concerns about influence, there's concerns about whether or not politicians are, whether they're aligned with Israel or whether they're aligned with the United States first.
Basically, the point that's being made right here is blackmail, that some of our politicians could be blackmailed by Israel for support. And that's one piece of this. And could that be happening? Of course. We have a bunch of people in Washington, D.C. who can't even get rid of their slush fund for the naughty things that they get caught for that should never happen inside of that, the houses of Congress. So, I mean, it's a decent point to make because it definitely does happen. But now listen to what J.D. Vance comes back with.
Well, there's certainly, I definitely get those concerns. But my sense is that the way that all foreign influence works in the United States is people try to manipulate American public opinion. And then from manipulating a public opinion, they try to get the outcomes that they want. I mean, this thing is a very good example of this. So, we know, I'm telling you, beyond a reasonable doubt, we know that the negotiation strategy that the president has asked us to pursue, and again, with limitations. Like when the Iranians hit ships, the president has been willing to knock the hell out of the Iranians in response. This is not just a negotiation. It's negotiation, it's military, it's all these things. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there have been people within the Israeli government who are trying to actually shift us away from that policy because they want to continue the military campaign. And by the way, there are people within their government that I love, I have good relationships with. I hope, and I don't think that they're part of this. I mean, the ambassador of Israel to the United States, I think, is actually a really good guy. Obviously, he cares about Israel first. I care about America first. But there are some people within their system we know beyond a shadow of a doubt who are manipulating and trying to change American public opinion to keep the war going on indefinitely. Again, not towards any objective, but just indefinitely. So, does it happen? Yes. But I guess what I would say to the Americans who sort of see this and are frustrated by it, my attitude would be you should be frustrated at American leaders who are, persuaded by this, affected by this. Countries are going to do what countries do. I really don't. It doesn't bother me that Qatar tries to influence the United States of America, and they do. I like a lot of the Qataris, just like I like a lot of the Israelis. It doesn't bother me that Israel tries to do this. It frankly doesn't even bother me that Russia or some of these other countries do it. It's just the nature of being a political leader in 2026. What does bother me is when those operations, those influence campaigns actually affect American political judgment, because they shouldn't, because we should be thinking what is in the best interest of the United States of America.
Do you think that Israel is affecting American political judgment?
I mean, I certainly think that there are a lot of talking points and there are a lot of arguments that make their way into American political discourse. I think there are a lot of social media campaigns that definitely influence Americans and affect Americans. Do I think that it's been dispositive on any particular issue? Like I think that's a much more difficult question.
Do you think that we would have started this war in Iran without the influence of Israel?
I think the president, completely separate from any influence from Israel, believes very strongly, and again, I agree with this, that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon.
Right,
and I
but
think he was
after
willing
we
to do things.
Bombed them in June, right? That was the initial attack, right?
June of last year.
Yeah.
Midnight Hammer, yeah.
Right. Do you think he would have continued with the most recent campaign if it wasn't for the influence of Israel?
Yes, I do.
Really?
I do, yeah. Look,
Why
I mean,
do you think
I think, again, and I see this, and I see it even from people that are in our coalition, and this would be my flip side to the hawks who have been attacking me or the president mercilessly over negotiation. I would sort of turn this back on some of the doves or some of the realists who have been attacking the president of the United States.
The doves? Those are the peace people?
Peace people.
That's what you call them, the
hawks
doves?
and doves. You never heard that phrase?
I've heard hawks. I've heard hawks. I don't think I've ever heard doves.
Hawks and pigeons, hawks and I don't know.
I think it's more doves is peace,
doves
right?
is good, right? So what I think a lot of people, I've heard this argument, is this idea that Donald Trump, was sort of, I've even heard people say he was blackmailed into this
Yeah,
by
a
the
lot
Israelis.
of people think that.
That's not true, dude.
No?
It's just not true. I've seen the decision making up close. Again, whether you agree or disagree with our negotiation, or whether you agree or disagree with the decision to launch the campaign Epic Fury to begin with, the idea that Donald Trump is being blackmailed is crazy to me. Because again, I see the way that he makes decisions. I see the way that he processes this stuff. Like the idea that he picks up the phone with anybody and says, "Hey, I'm going to take orders from you." No, that's just not how Donald Trump operates.
Not how Donald Trump operates. And that's the reality here. Look he said several things that were important to me. You have to have clear objectives. Okay. When you're open-ended, like Israel would like, I think, it will be a never-ending war. Okay. And that will not work, and it will fail politically and end up being a nightmare for Donald Trump. So, as Vance said, they hit ships in the Strait. They kill U.S. soldiers in Jordan. Now we're on 9 days of retaliation. Okay. And that it's kind of the quid pro quo. We gave them a chance with the memorandum of understanding to have peace, and they decided to go a different way. The Israel leveraging sophisticated public relations through social media, that's definitely going on, because Israel's interests will be to have the U.S. have an open-ended conflict in Iran, because I think that the presupposition is there that this is going to take a long time to get Iran into the position where they'll make a deal. And I reject that. I don't think it's going to take many years to get them into a position to make a deal that they'll actually live by. I think it just comes down to taking out the requisite personnel who are, clerics, who are fundamentalist nut jobs. And once those people are gone, I think the Iranian people, for the most part, are very reasonable. They were the most westernized country in the Middle East before the overthrow in 79. So I think we can return back to that. I think Vance is absolutely on point. There's no way Netanyahu is telling Trump what to do in any way, shape, or form. That isn't how Donald Trump works, and anybody who has eyes to see should know that. The interview highlights an emerging rift within the Republican coalition, pitting traditional pro-Israel hawks against the MAGA base, who want strict American sovereignty and America first policy. And Vance summed that up as Americans will will deal with what's going on right now, striking Iran when they don't live up to their side of the bargain. But we don't want an open-ended forever conflict. So I think Trump is prosecuting this conflict perfectly. I mean, it is perfect as you can do something like this. I don't think Netanyahu is in any control. And furthermore, I don't want to abandon Israel, not at all. But I don't want Israel calling the shots either. So while I'm part of MAGA, I don't want an open-ended conflict that will end up in many thousands of deaths and trillions of dollars spent. And I don't see President Trump as a president that will happen under. I don't see that as a realistic conclusion to what's going on. I think Trump is doing a great job prosecuting this conflict with exactly what he's been given. He gave them a chance for peace. They decided to bomb 3 or 4 ships in a week, and now they're getting hit for it. And at some point, Iran will have another chance to have peace. And will enough of the hardliners be gone for them to reach out and grab it? So I thought this was a really interesting video. I think Vance is absolutely on point there. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you'll share it out. Have a wonderful day. God bless.